All the roll and go, where am I to go? Meet Johnny, where am I to go? For I am a young and a sailor lad, and where am I to go?
Okay, my name is Sylvia Hansen. I'm a retired junior high teacher for 38 years. I have been a docent here for 20 years, but I don't think I get to count them all because we were closed a couple of years for COVID. I'm wearing white gloves. I may touch a few things. You may not touch anything. And please don't sit in our Victorian furniture. It's not terribly sturdy, but if you have bad knees or hips, we have some strong chairs we can move room to room for you should you need to sit.
I think we're okay.
All right.
But as we get started here, I want to just say, welcome to Where Am I to Go podcast, Sylvia. You've introduced yourself, kind of told us where we were, other than I don't think that you mentioned that it's the Ivinson mansion.
Ivinson mansion.
And it's in Laramie, Wyoming.
Laramie, Wyoming, yes.
And Laramie is an old town in Wyoming. Yes, it's an old town.
And you're going to hear much history here, so.
Okay, well, we are going to get history.
And you may take pictures. But you must stay with me, and you may ask questions, but we'll go room to room to room, and that's why you can't just go off.
Enough? Am I close enough to you?
You're fine. You're in the room.
Okay.
That's all that matters. Edward Ivinson was born in 1830 in the Danish West Indies. His father had a sugar plantation and dealt in exotic hardwoods. That thought about the woods will make sense later. Keep it in your mind. He was educated at England from when he was 7 until he was 17, and some point after that he came to New York City.
Okay.
Jane Wood has a bit of a sad story. She was born in 1840 in England, and we've been told she was the only child, the only baby out of 12 babies to live past the age of 2.
Holy smokes, what a travesty that mom must have felt.
I know. And her mother wasn't well, and maybe that was from having 12 babies. So when we believe Jane was about 10, Mom left her with grandparents in England, and Mom came to New York City. That was probably a bit of a shock for grandparents to get a 10-year-old because we understood it was kind of a rocky relationship. So when Jane was 13, whether they couldn't stand a teenager or whether her mom was calling her, she was sailing into the New York harbor. And that day, her mother did not feel well, so she sent a good family friend who was Edward Ivinson. He fell in love with young Jane. He married Jane when she was 13. He was 23, and they celebrated their 61st anniversary in this home.
Wow.
And if you'll step over here, we have a picture of Jane and Edward, and they adopted young Margaret. And that's the family that came on the first passenger train, May 10th, 1868, into Laramie, Wyoming.
On the very first train?
Very first passenger train.
Passenger train,
yeah, that might make a difference, but passenger train. Edward had 2 boxcar loads of merchandise. He was going to go to California and open a store. The track stopped here. They hadn't gone through to meet in Utah yet.
Right.
So they stopped here. So he opened a store here. He later got a bank, named it Edward Ivinson Bank, and made a lot of money, maybe land deals or interest. And we've been told that he brokered timber from our mountain ranges down to the Union Pacific to be made into ties.
Okay.
So he became obviously very wealthy. Mm-hmm. And another picture to look at while we are still in this corner, there's a young man in a maroon dress. You can see his little white legs sticking out of the dress. His name is Galusha Grow. His uncle Benton had something to do with the Homestead Act, and he encouraged Galusha to come out here, and he homesteaded a ranch out on our valley. One day as a young cowboy, he came to Laramie, and he met young Maggie as a young woman. She was not 13, and they fell in love and got married and had the 3 Ivinson granddaughters.
Okay.
That's the family the house is about. When they came, they lived above their store. They lived in a variety of places, but in 1892, they built this home, and when they built it, it had electricity, it had running water, and it had indoor plumbing.
In 1892. That was pretty early for that.
That was early for that. And I can tell you another story about that when we get further back. They heated the first 10 years with coal. That's a coal register, but you can see how hard it would be to radiate a lot of heat into this area. And I think there was coal dust, and Jane wouldn't have wanted that on her pretties. So after they had been here about 10 years, they put in the big steam radiators. We are still using them today when we heat. We have a new furnace down there that clicks on and off, but the big boiler is still downstairs, and you don't get to go down there. It's dark and icky, and the boiler is just there. It's scary, it's right. So they lived here a good long time. Jane died in 1915 of cancer. She was 75 years old.
She did good.
Edward lived here another 6 years by himself, but it's too big for two people, much less one. In 1921, he deeded over. He gave this house to the Episcopal Church downtown, and that's our big cathedral, big, tall, red doors. And they turned it into a girls' boarding house. Not a school, but a boarding house. And people often ask me, were these wealthy girls, was this a finishing school? No. These were ranch girls whose education stopped at the 8th grade at a one-room schoolhouse. To get to high school, they had to get into Laramie. So these were mostly ranch girls, certainly from around our area, northern Wyoming, places in Wyoming, northern Colorado. They came here and went to high school. And so it was a girls' boarding house from 1921 to 1958. 1958, better buses, I don't know what happened, but this got shut down and it sat empty for 10 years. And I'm going to call these the vandalism years. You can't leave any house empty like that 10 years, but particularly one like this. The church sold much. Sold fixtures, sold furniture, sold much. Or people broke in and stole much, or took much, or ripped up much. Hobos would ride in on our trains up there and come up here, and I'm going to show you a place later where we believe they cooked. It would be out of the wind, out of the cold, they could be in here. High school kids, college kids would dare each other to spend the night in the haunted mansion. Not haunted, no ghosts, but that's always asked. And just an aside, in Laramie, our third graders study Laramie history, and so starting soon, probably in April and then into May, we do many third grade school tours. And always the little hand goes up and asks, do you see any ghosts? No, we don't. But they have good questions, those third graders. And just as I said, you have to stay with me. That's okay with adults. Third graders, not so much. They don't like to be corralled, and so they have to have parents and teachers with them in each group, but it's a fun thing to do. And so I'm back to my story. So in 1968, there was a Safeway's grocery store across the street, and they wanted to buy this block and knock the house down. It was in terrible disrepair. Carpets were torn up, wallpaper was torn down. All of the furniture you see in here is not the Ivinsons. I will show you one table later in the tour, but what you are seeing has all been donated to us, and it's all that Victorian furniture. But it's none of this. None of this is the Ivinsons.
It sure is pretty, isn't it?
It is beautiful. And let me finish the story before I forget where I am. So in 1968, they wanted to buy this block and knock the house down. And there's a group of women, and women are so powerful. These women were powerful. They did bake sales, coupon drives, whatever they could do, bought this house from the church, probably 1970, 71, somewhere in that time. I don't know the exact date on that, but opened it as a museum in 1972. So that's the beginning of when we became a museum. But they talked about having to clean or do things with flashlights, because if you jerk out a wall hanging a light fixture, you can't flip a switch. And so it was in terrible disrepair. And I want you to step over here. I keep making you move because I taught physical education, and I don't want you to lock your knees and pass out on me. So coming in around here and looking at this picture, this is a picture the Ivinsons took of this room when they owned it. There's a bust of Jane, and we know that they have wallpaper on the ceiling. We know they have a picture rail, and we know what the drapes look like, so we've been able to replicate that. And our wallpaper in all the rooms, we sent a sample to a company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin that did restorative wallpaper. So there's no synthetics in this, but it's very accurate to what they had when they lived here. In Victorian homes, the colors were often beige, light green, and Jane was okay with that gold and beige in here, but boy, as you get out, you'll notice some brighter colors. And I think Jane kicked back and said, I'm not going with that. So, and coming back over here, we have a beautiful oak cabinet. In 1899, John Ute came from Sweden to build very beautiful furniture. John Ute wrote a check, and his name is spelled Hjorth. I pronounce it Hjort forever. I had some Swedish guests come through 2 different times, and how do you spell this? And they said Ute. Ute, so it's John Ute. He came to Laramie and he wrote a check for $25. He had no money in the bank, so he was arrested for insufficient funds.
Oh, no.
While he was in our jail, his past caught up with him and he had done some other scoundrelly sorts of things, and so he ended up spending 2 years and 8 months in our territorial prison, which is another nice thing to go through. You don't get a docent, but you get a nice handout. So while he was in prison, he built what we call our prison furniture. This is one of the pieces of our prison furniture. And I want your eyes to watch for it. While he was there, we believe he built 23 pieces of prison furniture.
Oh, wow.
If you go there, you have to go through the broom factory. And the broom factory was there because the inmates that were there besides him built brooms.
Okay.
But if you go through the broom factory, you will find 2 pieces of prison furniture, a very beautiful table and a deacon's bench from the Methodist Church in Laramie. They have 2. We have 19 pieces, so I want your eyes to watch for prison furniture as we go room to room.
And it's a very beautiful
It's very beautiful.
case here. With a lot of carving and a lot of intricate stuff.
Just keep it, because there's gonna be some more.
Now, let me describe as we come in. You come in through the front door. You come into a nice big lobby. There's a really neat staircase that has a curve to it. They're not pie-shaped stairs. They're rounded. The banister's really nice. The doors coming into this room are 10 foot tall, I'm guessing, and probably 12 foot wide. There's a nice carpet with a flower pattern on it. We've got a pump organ over here on one wall. We have the big heat register that she was talking about that's pretty ornate and very large. It's probably 7-8 foot long and 3.5 foot tall. Some Tiffany lamps and just some older Victorian style chairs. There's a suit over here with a top hat that a mannequin's wearing that would indicate somebody being in the room. There's also a really nice old piano in here.
Let me talk about the piano.
It's a box piano, correct?
Well, sort of. It's a square grand. It's a Steinway square grand.
Square grand.
The significance is the big legs can be unscrewed and it can be folded up and pushed in the back of a wagon box. So it's called a wagon box grand. This one belonged to Judge Carter, and he lived in Fort Bridger, which is the other corner of our state near Ivinson.
We did a podcast at Fort Bridger.
All right.
We've got that one.
Well, this date on this is 1894. Ivinson's arrived on that first train 1898. So this had to come out to Wyoming on a wagon train.
Wow.
You will see many square grands in the mansion. They've been donated to us. We know Jane had one because she had a friend who could sing and play beautifully, but hers is gone, sold, stolen, something. So we have, I don't have,
there's a very nice candle chandelier here, and also a very nice female dress.
The other thing is, we leave this room, I want you to notice, I told you to keep this stable. The wood on this side is maple, and in the inside of the doors is bird's eye maple, and on this side it's golden oak.
Oh, really?
And remembering that his father dealt in exotic hardwoods. His father was never here, but that network of being able to get beautiful woods for his mansion. And for whatever reason, in that vandalism years, they didn't get destroyed, they didn't get taken. I know in our lifetime it was cool to paint woodwork white.
Oh, yes.
And this didn't get painted.
How
and it didn't
awesome is that?
Yeah, and maybe these were pushed in, they couldn't see them, but our woodwork made it.
Wow.
And coming on
and
this...
then you've got a beautiful oak floor.
Yeah, and this is original floor, and I'm going to talk about the other part over there in a bit, but come on in here.
And this is the parlor?
No, that was the drawing room, by the way.
That was the drawing room.
Which was kind of a living room area.
Okay.
They called it the drawing room. This room, only you would be allowed in here because this is Edward Ivinson's smoking room.
Okay, well, I don't smoke, so I probably wouldn't be
You
allowed
wouldn't be in
either.
here, and I wouldn't be in here.
Dang.
But I want you to notice that beautiful piece of liquor of prison furniture. It's a liquor.
That's a piece of prison furniture.
It's a liquor cabinet. If I open it up, it has round places for round bottles up there, and the woodworking on it, the wood carving is just stunning.
And it is stunning. There's a eagle with it looks like flowers and stuff kind of coming out of its mouth. It's a 3D carving. It's a very nice carving. And the legs have gargoyles on them. Those would be gargoyles,
well,
right?
I guess so. They have a lot of mythological sorts of creatures on his stuff.
Okay.
And turning around and looking at where the tobacco stuff is, that's another one of his pieces.
Oh, wow. So that's another beautiful piece. It's about 8 foot tall, 7.5 foot tall, about 4 foot wide. It has columns coming down like what you'd see on the front of some of the old courthouses or something.
Yeah.
And just a beautiful, beautiful cabinet. And then you've got this is a record player, I'm assuming, a wind-up
gramophone.
gramophone. And a little fireplace in here.
The fireplace
with some
I want to
ceramic
talk about
tile.
a moment.
Okay.
The tile, Jane traveled to Italy and got her tile from Italy, had it sent here. So this tile is original. The mantle is not. During the vandalism years, it was sold or stolen, gone. This mantle was in Fort Sanders, and Fort Sanders was built 3 miles south of town to protect the railroad. When they didn't need it, they dismantled the fort. This was in the officers' quarters, and someone said, we know where that beautiful cherry wood would look lovely.
Yeah.
So it does look lovely, but not original to this room. And the wood in this room, I'm going to try to remember to tell you all the woods, is sycamore. And it looks kind of whirly, so it's called quarter-cut sycamore in this room.
Okay.
Certainly not, probably not even Wyoming, but certainly not from around Laramie. So, and we have a picture over here.
Well, it's amazing that they didn't take the wood and use it for their fires, the hobos building fires and cooking and all that kind of stuff.
Hold that thought. We have a picture of Edward Ivinson up here. He lived to be 97 and a half or 98. He wanted to make 100 and didn't quite. Was quite the leader for Laramie on many boards, very community oriented, but as was Jane. The first year after arriving here, within that first year, she started a Sunday school for children.
Okay.
She and some other moms started a school for children within the next year. She sat on Edward Ivinson's bank board, had to get permission from the federal government to do that. So both of them were movers and shakers for Laramie.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she was involved in schools, and then it eventually turned into a boarding school. That's kind of an
that is
interesting
neat. That
connection.
was, kind of probably one of her wishes, actually.
Wow. The wallpaper in here and the colors and some of that, like you were saying, is just amazing.
Beautiful.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's had to have cost a fortune to have
It did.
this
We
all
had to go
custom
room by
made.
room. We had to go. Come in here. In the entryway, the tile on the floor, each piece was cut and put down so tightly. This is original, the floor is. The door behind me, the beveled glass above me is original. And this is one of 2 light fixtures that is original.
Okay.
And this is one of my favorite stories. You will discover I have many. During the vandalism years, a University of Wyoming student broke in here and stole this from the front door. He came here on a tour before COVID, and I think felt guilty because then we got a letter from him with this that said, I was here these years at UW. I stole this, it's yours, here it is back.
Wow.
When we got it back, it was all tarnished, of course it was. And one of our volunteers knew where it went, and he tried to put it back, and it was so heavy it started to split the wood.
Oh.
So he built this. The sign says, touch a piece of history. Every 3rd grader has to touch it. You are welcome to touch it and feel how heavy those are. And as people are touching it, they are polishing the brass.
Those are heavy.
Those are nice. They feel
That's
good.
a nice door.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And you can see,
Oh, yeah.
you would see where it was back to back with,
Right.
so.
Wow. Well, I guess sometimes feeling guilty works out well for somebody.
You're going to find some more of it here. As we come in, you would have been met by a maid or a butler with the silver tray, and you would have put your calling card on to see, with your name on it to see if you could see Mr. or Mrs. Ivinson. Looking straight up, that is our second light fixture that is original. All the rest throughout the mansion are not. They were all gone, missing, stolen, sold, something like that. So these are the only two that are original. And you talked about the staircase. Staircase is interesting. We will go up after we finish our loop down here.
Can we talk about this first? Here in this lobby area is a mirror that is probably one of the largest mirrors I've ever seen. This thing's probably, 10 foot tall?
Probably.
About 3.5 foot wide. And when you stand looking at the mirror, you see the beautiful staircase in the mirror going up. It is just an awesome, along with the stained glass windows and another piano, the mirror is just such a neat addition to this room.
I'll tell you about the mirror. I don't usually, because this is going to make our thing longer, but if you have the time, I've got the time. The mirror, when Edward gave this house to the church, he would live down in Denver in the winters at the Shirley Savoy or the Brown Palace. But in the summers, he came back to his beloved Laramie, and he stayed at the Connor Hotel. The Connor Hotel was down at 3rd and Grand, and it was very elegant.
Okay.
And the furniture as we go into there is from the Connor Hotel. They gave it to us. But they also gave us this mirror, but it was not up and down. It was horizontal behind the bar.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But in this room, the horizontal works so well.
Well, and there was probably one there, so Jane could see how she looked coming down the stairs, and it would make the room bigger and brighter. So she probably had one, just not this large of a.
Now you're making me feel really disappointed because I don't know. I kind of already know what I'm going to look like coming down the stairs. It's not going to be pretty.
The stairs are interesting. They're called a floating or flying staircase, and that means if we knock down the walls, it will stand by itself.
Okay.
So the architecture, the carpentry to make that curved staircase is an amazing sort of thing.
And it is. It's the wood has such a curve to it.
Yep.
That it's just a beautiful staircase.
It is a beautiful staircase.
It's a beautiful stairwell. Are we headed up that direction?
No, we have to do the loop and then we will. So
okay. Okay.
But we're going to look at the stained glass windows. If you look down there at those beautiful windows, the one on the left is slightly darker. And during the vandalism years, all of the stained glass was gone and it was just boarded up. We didn't know what it looked like. So somebody, we don't know who, we don't know if they bought it, they stole it. The one on the left was very carefully wrapped up and out on that porch where you were waiting for me.
Really?
No name, no story. No, this was in my family, nothing. We knew from the size where it went. And so a lady in Fort Collins, Colorado, I think it's actually Pooter, was a glass maker. And she tried to find very old glass, but it's still brighter. But that gave us the pattern for that one, and then as you look up in the stairwell, it gave us the pattern for those.
Okay.
Because we didn't know.
Right.
And so now we know.
Well, again, guilt must be playing.
I know.
Karma in your favor.
I know it. It is. So.
Wow. That is just amazing. It is amazing that this stuff comes back.
I know. This place is amazing, and I hope we get a good podcast that'll sell it and people will want to come see it.
Me too.
Well, I'll tell you, this is what I've seen so far. It's just fantastic.
It is. It's a fantastic.
You guys have done a good job of
that
restoration.
That committee has.
We've been to several different mansions and stuff, and this is probably one of the better put together ones, especially when you talk about the condition that it was in.
Oh, it was in terrible condition. So this room, when the Ivinsons lived here, was their parlor. And during the girls' school time, they made this into a library, a study hall. So they put in the bookshelves. But they were not here when the Ivinsons lived, and we've left the bookshelves in, but they weren't here. The wood in this room is Mexican mahogany, and I have a story about this man behind you that is another one of my favorites. There's a man in a furry hat named Edgar Wilson Nye, Bill Nye, not the science man.
Okay.
He came here in the 1870s, and he wrote a lot of books. Bill Nye, Bill Nye, Bill Nye.
Right.
Bill Nye had a mule when he came to Laramie, and it wouldn't come, it wouldn't go, it came at will. So he named his mule Boomerang. And he eventually wrote a book, Bill Nye and Boomerang. And there's that mule, In 1881, he started a Laramie newspaper, and he named it the Daily Boomerang.
I was wondering why that name, because I'd heard the newspaper called that.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's not for anything you throw in Australia, it's for his mule. So I love that story. I think it's an amazing.
That is interesting. And you've got the bookshelves full of old books.
Not necessarily the Ivinsons, but just been donated, and they're old, and we've put them in. And
it looks like an old library.
Yeah, it does.
This is just fantastic.
Yeah, this is.
And then you've got some musical instruments up on top of the
Yeah,
shelves. You've got a
things that
couple
have
of
been
harps
donated to us in another square grand or another.
Right.
Let's look at this for a moment. It's called a pianola. And if we turned it around and backed it up so that this side was up to the keyboards and we pumped it, it makes any piano into a player piano. There's a scroll, and as you
Really?
pump it,
That's cool.
That's cool.
Okay, so now what she described by backing it up, it's got a hump in the middle that you can put over the top of your keyboard on your piano, and then when it plays the reel with all the little slots in it, then the little things come down that would be fingers and plays the piano. So you can turn any piano into a player piano. I have not seen one of those. I have not heard anything about one of those. This thing is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Who thought that up? And it's pump.
It's pump.
Yeah, you pump it.
But don't you pump a regular player piano?
I think some of them are electric.
Oh,
I don't
they
know.
could
Maybe,
be now.
I don't know.
They could be
but
now.
Yeah, a lot of them are pump.
Yeah.
And then you've got a big Victrola with the old cylinders.
This is called a Morning Glory because of the shape of the big speaker, and the cylinders is what would play. You can see them out there.
See, I've got a couple of those cylinders that I picked up at some yard sales, but I have not got the player yet. One of these days, I'm going to find a player at an antique store, and it will come home with me, whether I want it to or not.
Yeah, that's what you need. So, all right. Anything else in here?
This is just phenomenal. And again, the wallpaper is, I don't even know how to describe this wallpaper. It's something that you'd see maybe in a castle in England or something.
Maybe so during that time.
It's got those kind of markings on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Now this wallpaper is a little bit more wild.
It is, but look how colorful it is.
It is. It's beautiful. And this must be our dining room.
This is our dining room. And your eyes can find 3 pieces of prism furniture, one with silver, one with china, and one with crystal. On the table, we don't have much that belongs to the Ivinsons. I don't think there's anything that belongs to the Ivinsons on the table. Sometimes there is. The dinnerware came from a family, and the date is, I think, 1870 Noritake, China, and it's very beautiful. I always have to stop here with the third graders, and I ask them, what about those little crystal bowls?
Yeah, why don't you tell me about those little crystal bowls?
What do you think would be in there? Okay, you tell us.
There's salt.
They're salt cellars.
Okay.
And you would put your salt on your food. Now, the third graders will guess salt, pepper, sugar. But last spring, one of the boys said, well, I think they're a cereal bowl. And there were some bowls on. I said, you mean like that? And he said, no, like that. And I thought, what, 2 Cheerios?
Yeah. Yeah, his mom must not feed him very well.
No, I know, or he gets a lot of bowls.
Now, I've got another question. How many life sentences was this guy in prison for?
He was only there 2 years and 8 months.
And he built this much furniture in 2 years and 8 months.
They have said that some of the repetitive work, and there's not a lot on this, but some of the, like, on that liquor cabinet, there was some repetitive stuff. And they said some of the repetitive stuff he was training other prisoners to do.
This is just unbelievable. I would think that a month or 2 or 3 on something like this would be minimal. Just with the carving and the ornateness and the making the pieces all fit as well as they fit. This is beautiful furniture.
And one of the things I forgot to tell you, but we do have the Ivinson's silver napkin rings. That one is engraved and says Lord Ivinson, and this one says Lady Ivinson. And they weren't lords and ladies, but we think some of their Western friends were kind of having some fun with them and gave them.
And where did these come from? These were donated from the family, or?
Anything we have now, and I'll show you some very beautiful things we have now, had been given to the granddaughters.
Okay.
And came back to us. If they were in the house in the vandalism years, they were gone, broken, stolen, gone. But over here we do have, and this came back from the family, we do have a beautiful Libby cut glass punch bowl. It belonged to Galusha Grow, remembering he was the son-in-law of the Ivinsons. He had it while banking in California. The first 7 or 8 years I was here, it was on a card table. A lovely tablecloth, but a card table.
Just like that.
And one of our appraisers came through, and he just stopped, and he was horrified. And he said, there's very few of these left. It's very rare, and yours is on a card table. And any guest, any third grader, any docent hits a leg.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
gone. So the man who did that doorknob thing built this, trying to make it look like the prison furniture, put drawers in it so we can put linens in there.
Awesome.
A glass, lock, a mirror, and so now that is safe.
That is so cool.
And
Yeah, so you not only got a doorknob, you got a cabinet out of the guy.
Yeah.
You need to make him feel more guilty.
He did a lot of stuff here, and he's now, his health is failing, and he just hates to not work here for us. Fireplace is interesting. Remember, Jane got her tile from Italy. During the vandalism years, this is where we think the hobos cooked.
Okay.
They would have a stew pot or a hobo pot, and they put it on the floor. And there were very many black charred circles that we could not sand out. And in the parlor, a lot of the wood you talked about being broken up to burn, that's a lot of it. So these two rooms have had a new floor, but the part you came in on is original.
Okay.
But these are our new floors. During those years, whether the fires were so hot that much of the tile popped off, or whether someone liked it and took much of it, not all of it, but much of the tile was gone. And how do you replace tile from Italy? During, this house has 3,000 square feet per level. 3,000,
Wow.
second floor, 3,000, third floor, 29 something, basement you don't see, but 3,000. In the basement, the Ivinsons had a laundry room and a wine cellar.
Okay.
But back in one of the corner back rooms, we found a box of this tile.
Really?
So we were able to restore this, and this is an original mantle. Remember, his was gone.
Right.
This one is original, and I don't have very good eyes anymore, but the only thing I can see is that broken end of that dowel.
Yep.
You might
This
have
is a very interesting mantle. I've never seen one like this. It comes above the fireplace at about probably 4.5 feet, has a shelf that has a clock and some other
Yeah.
china in there, and then comes on up onto some carved woodwork. And then above that, you've got a mirror on a slant that looks back through the dining room again to where when you're looking at the fireplace, you can see everything that's going on with you in the room.
And-
It is just unbelievable.
We think it's a stunningly beautiful piece, but here's what. In the summers, if you come here, we have junior docents because it's like 9 or 10 to 5.
Right.
And no way I can do 9 or 10 to 5 anymore with my bad knees. And so I helped train them, and the curator and I were doing something in the kitchen one summer, and I don't think we were polishing silver because I get away from that every time I can, but we were doing something in there, and one of our junior docents, the guest, said, well, why do you think that's tilted? And he didn't miss a beat. He said, that's so Jane Ivinson can watch her guests so they don't steal the silverware. We were horrified. I said, oh, man. Let's not go rip his ears off, but, you know.
Hey, what the heck?
made
It
it
could
up.
have been very well for that reason.
No, it wasn't. And while you're here, if you kind of lean down and look in the fireplace,
Right.
there's some
Scrolls.
scratching. And what it says, up at the top, it says art, A-R-T, mast, M-A-S-T, dial, D-I-A-L, 2311. Now that would not have been there when the Ivinsons lived here.
Right.
But in those vandalism years, someone did that. Someone has said they think it's a chimney sweep, but why would a chimney sweep do that when nobody was coming in here? I think it's for a good time dial, art master.
There you go.
And in our lifetime, we didn't have any of those area code, any numbers.
Right,
that
yeah, just last four digits.
And so we don't know anything about it, but it's there. And the ones who can spot that are the third graders, because they're low.
Right.
My adults will walk right by it, but those third graders stop and say, what does that say? Because they're low.
Wow. This has a lot of china in it.
And a lot of our china, and I can tell you this.
China cabinets.
Yeah. A lot of our china has come, we have some things that are Jane's, and I'll show you that in but a moment. But some of it comes from people who have beautiful china and they don't have any more children. Or we've had women come in with big boxes of beautiful china, old china, and they'll say, my daughter doesn't want this gewgaw stuff, you have to wash by hand. So we have a lot of china that comes in and out of this room to change. This is the butler's pantry, and the butler or the maid could get food from the cook staff to feed or to serve to the Ivinsons. The window up here is original, and they tell me that leaded glass, when it is hit by the sun, begins to turn pink or lavender, and particularly up high, you can see where it's turning. Right. Lower, not so much, but it's still changing slowly. In this dish case, we have some oyster plates, and in the middle it says EI. Jane and Edward had a big ball at Manicore Hall, downtown Laramie. Huge ball. But they had small dinner for 18, and Jane had 18 oyster plates, and she served oyster on the half shell here.
Wow.
I don't know how she got it up to Laramie, Wyoming. So she gave 6 to each granddaughter, and a great-granddaughter dying in her 90s several years ago now gave us her 6. We know there's 12 out there somewhere, but we got 6. And there's the half moon plates. You see the EI on it again. That same great-granddaughter had those. They are either a salad plate, because they all have different vegetables on them, or they are bone plates. So you could put a chicken bone, an orange rind, and the maid or butler would dump it off. So, and looking up high, you see the EI up high on that stemware and the bowls. Jane traveled to Italy. She went to Murano Island and commissioned this. So this is Murano glass. The EI is embossed. That means glass put on glass, not etched.
Oh, really?
So, again, those came back. They would not have been here. They wouldn't be here. So, and
well, it's nice that the grandkids and stuff take enough pride in the in the museum.
And this is another one of my favorite things. You probably know what this is.
A xylophone that sounds a lot like people's doorbells.
It's a way to call you to dinner. When the maid or butler rang that, you knew to come in here. They didn't have to say, come and eat.
That's cool.
That's pretty. Nice. And as we leave, looking way up high, there's a plate that says IMH.
Right.
In 1915, when Jane died, we did not have a hospital at that time. So Edward bought the property at 10th and Ivinson and built Ivinson Memorial Hospital for Laramie. It has since been torn down, and if you drive up Ivinson or Grand, there's a huge parking garage. It's called Ivinson Parking Garage. It's owned by the University of Wyoming. But out on 30th, we have a great big, I call it our new hospital, but it's our big, wonderful hospital, Ivinson Memorial Hospital. The other thing that happened after Edward died, there was a lot of money in his trust, or whatever it was called. They gave a hunk of money to Maggie, and then they bought property at 20th and Grand and built the Ivinson home for ladies. And older ladies can live there, and forever they could live there free. In the distant past, right now, they've been charged a stipend based on Social Security, so it's not so much, but beautiful rooms. It's beautiful like this. Beautiful fireplace, beautiful place. 3 meals a day. Laundry facilities, it's very beautiful, and now they pay a little stipend to live there, but they have to be well. They have to be able to get up and dress. It's not a nursing home.
Right.
I'm babbling, but Edward got a lot of money here, but they gave this house for high school girls, they gave us a hospital, and they gave us the home for ladies.
Wow. Okay, we must be in the kitchen.
You must be in the kitchen. Looking at the floor, it's not as nice of wood as where we've been. This is the working part of the house, so it wasn't quite as nice. We believe the sink is original. We know the stove is not, because there's a large concrete pad indicating they had a much, much larger stove. This is the last room we've been able to afford wallpaper in. But as we scrape back, we found 4 layers of wallpaper. And the man who did that...
Got a truth door here that has the 4 different styles of wallpaper.
Yeah. The top one is original. We can't make sense of it. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, couldn't it? Yeah, the heat of the stove or moisture ruined it. So the next one is the closest that they could match is that one. Brown was third out. Blue and white we could see, but that was probably girls' school time, not Victorian.
Right.
So in every room, we either have pictures or we've scraped back. So every room is fairly accurate.
And in here we have, like she said, the wood cook stove. We've got butter churn, a big butter churn. This thing's huge.
50 pounds.
How big?
50 pounds of butter.
50 pounds of butter. We've got some old toasters. We've got an old iron. We've got several coffee grinders, some old cans, washboards. old washing machine, hand crank washing machine. Ladies, I guess that's be more like a servant's type dress.
Yeah, the white blouse, we don't have much that belong to the Ivinsons, but the blouse is in the Ivinson collection. We don't know if Maggie wore it or Jane wore it, but today Cook is wearing it. But that is actually an Ivinson piece. So.
And then a big cast iron sink.
Oh, yeah.
Huge.
And I'm going to have you come in here, and I have a place for you to stand.
Okay, can we talk about this before we go in there? I have never seen one of these.
It's a knife sharpener, and the knives would be in here. And you put them in there, and there's a big stone in there, and so as you turn it, it would sharpen the knives.
Okay, and this thing's about 18 inches round with a hand crank on the front. It's about 4 inches wide, and it's got slots for all kinds of different knives to go in that you turn the hand crank, and it sharpens the knives. That's really a cool piece. I've never seen one like that.
All right, come in here. I have a place for you to stand, and I'm going to sound like a teacher. You have to stand over there with your back to that counter. Don't lean on it.
Okay.
Come on. Somehow teachers never get out of my system. You stand there with him. No, get over there. There you go. That'll be perfect. I don't want to hit you with the door. This is Cook's pantry, and Cook could prepare food. On this counter, she has a bin for 50 pounds of flour, 50 pounds of sugar, and here's what I don't want to hit you with the door, but I want to show you. If you look all the way up, all the shelves are a screen. They're a mesh. There's a hole in the building and a hole in the building, and that's the north side of Laramie. So cool air would come up across or down across butter, fruit, eggs, coffee, tea, spices, pastry, anything you wanted to keep longer, not an ice box.
Right.
The ice box would have been out on that porch so it could rip and not ruin the floor. Remember, they had electricity, so as soon as refrigerators were electric, that would have been in here. So this is called a cold cabinet or a cold closet, something Jane thought of, maybe saw in England, but this is all original.
And so it brings the cold air from down low and puts it and
Up
runs
high, or
up
maybe,
high.
I don't know, I thought cold air came down. I don't know which way it would go.
Cold air would come down, but during the summer, the hot air would be up. So it probably works opposite depending on
and we filled the holes in because we don't want the cold air coming in all
right.
good.
That is really an interesting concept.
Yep.
That is
and
cool.
in Wyoming, in Laramie, Wyoming, where it's cool most of the time, it's great.
Well, and especially in the evenings, I mean, it cools off at night. Your elevation here is what, 7,000?
7220.
Okay, so a little over 7,000 feet.
Okay, so now I'll let you just look around and I'll get out of your way. I never want to hit our guests with the door, so I have a place I make them sit.
Well, this is just full of all kinds of kitchen appliances, bread boxes.
Cake box.
Cake box, yes.
Look up
Butter
high.
churn.
Those things that look like bombs are pressure cookers.
Pressure cookers, yes. and some old cans with Blue Hill coffee and campfire marshmallows and just all kinds of neat old tins. Fly swatter with screen on it.
Yeah.
So,
We used to have I don't know where they went. We had rug thing that you...
Oh, a rug beater.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's gone now, so I don't know where it is.
There's one on the wall here.
Which one? Oh, right over
Oh,
here.
there's one. We had a couple others in there. Oh, let me show you this. These are too cool. I love these. I'm sorry I'm going to take so long. You're going to run out of battery.
We're good. Okay, we got chainmail.
If you
Scrubbers?
if you had a pan that maybe you had egg or chicken,
Right.
you can scrub it, and then this is like the Brillo pad.
Right.
Clean it off.
Yes, and they make those. We went to the Lodge store in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they still sell a chainmail pad that we bought a couple of them for taking care of your cast iron pans.
Yeah.
And they work really well. Oh, look at this rodent trap.
Isn't that
Pretty-
something?
Yeah. I'm not sure what that's for. Is that for mice?
Yeah, it's a mouse trap.
Okay. And it's got 4 holes in it with
So
springs on top that once you set them, when the mice crawl through it, comes down.
I guess so. I'm not sure
Spears them
how.
is what I'm assuming. Okay. This here's just kind of a big lobby area of some sort, right?
It's a back hallway.
A back hallway. Okay.
Okay, in the back hallway, you see the servants' stairs. So the servants can come, there's a little porch and a door there, or come into the kitchen and go up and down and not bother the Ivinsons. The story is when the 3 granddaughters would come for the summer and stay with the Ivinsons, they got in trouble with grandmother Jane if they got dirt on the grand staircase. So the little
Okay.
girls went up and down here, so as not to incur grandmother's wrath. The big door over there that says staff only goes down to the full basement. Everything you see on this level is below
Okay.
us. Dark and inky, but it's all down there. Over here we have a dumbwaiter, and one of the third grade boys said, I know what that is. It's an elevator for things. So laundry could go down to your coffee could go up to Jane. This one was
The old push button light
electric.
switch. Yeah.
Electric.
Yeah, push button light switches.
And while we're right here, I'm just going to tell you this story. I hope it's accurate. I know part of it's accurate. The Ivinsons had incandescent light bulbs in here in 1892.
Okay.
And this is what I'm not sure, but the first president, which I think Grover Cleveland's second inaugural ball, that's what I'm not sure which president, I think it was Grover Cleveland, was the first president to use incandescent light bulbs at his inaugural ball, 1893. Laramie, Wyoming was ahead of Washington, D.C.
How awesome is that?
That is, so.
Well, and if you go to the Grand Encampment Museum, you'll find that Thomas Edison came up with the idea for the incandescent light bulb while he was fishing.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
Not too far from there.
Yeah.
They've got a little plaque that talks about that. And now this is really cool, something that you don't see very often, but I've seen it a few different times. These flush toilets at the back water
Chain pull.
chain pull sits up at about 8 foot tall, and it gives you super flush coming down to the toilet.
You see the wainscoting got painted here, remember?
Okay, right.
A bit of it did. We'd like to strip it, but nobody wants to strip it. But up high is the wainscoting indicating it was a pull chain toilet. We've been told the Ivinsons had Delft or Dresden china, that the tank was white with blue flowers, as was the toilet, and that disappeared in those vandalism years. This works, it looks nice, and people can understand how it works, but
Right.
it's not
It's
as
definitely
lovely.
a gravity flow situation.
Right. We're going to stop by this case of flowers. These are all Wyoming wildflowers. They were made by, and her picture's gone. Usually it's up here. A picture of Marie Stanfield, and she made all of these. And I asked the third graders, what do you think she used? And they'll guess clay. No. They'll guess Play-Doh. No. What she used was white baked bread and white glue, like Elmer's glue, and some glycerin. Made them all, shaped them, painted them, and then I don't know if they air dry or what they do for the next thing. She started making the Indian paintbrush, which is the Wyoming state flower, and there's usually one up here, that's gone. I think she grew bored, so there's pictures that are usually up here. She and her husband would go out and pick a flower, or he would lay on his tummy and take a picture, and so she made all of these Wyoming wildflowers, and the detail is just stunning on them. It's just
Beautiful.
This is amazing. You've got all probably 70 varieties in here,
probably.
And they're all displayed on different pieces of prairie wood or rock or something, and they're made out of bread and Elmer's glue.
White glue is what it says.
Oh, white glue.
And all I can think of is Elmer's. But
Well,
white glue.
Elmer's is white.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that you could make bread last this long. She must have had a lot of preservatives.
Well, maybe the glue or the glycerin. When she died, her family gave us her whole collection, which is good. If you give 2 to every cousin, nobody has anything.
Right.
So this is quite the collection that we have.
This is phenomenal.
And we're going to turn around and face the maroon wall. Don't lean on the flowers, please, but just face this wall. This is our commemorating women, because Wyoming is the equality state. This is a copy of the document that gave us the right to vote in 1869. Back east they're bragging, we've had it 100 years. Well, Wyoming is 154. Thank you very much. Some important people. The first woman to vote in the world was in Laramie, Wyoming, 1870. And I love to tell Martha Boyce Atkinson's story. It's just this great story. There was a murder trial. There were men and women juries, and they couldn't agree on the verdict. They weren't split by sexes. They just could not agree. So she was deputized, and that night they had to sequester them. So she had to sit outside the rooms. The men had a room or two in the Union Pacific Hotel. Women had a room or two. She sat all night on a chair, stayed awake, and made sure there was no pressure, no hanky-panky, nothing going on. And the next morning she reported that the men behaved like gentlemen. She had other court duties after that, but that was kind of her claim to fame, to sit there all night in the murder trial. So Love that story. And we're going to come past these down here.
Now, Wyoming had the first female governor, too, didn't
Yes,
we?
that's, let me see, Nellie Taylor Ross right there. This story just hugs me around my heart. Carrie Burton Overton was the first African-American born in Laramie, Wyoming. She could play the piano and sing beautifully, and that's why we know Jane had a piano, because she would come do that. She was a stenographer and could write beautifully, and some of those women, maybe Jane, couldn't write. So she'd go to their house and they would say, you know, dearest mother, we're having a bad winter in Laramie, Wyoming, whatever. She would write for them and send the letters back east so the family got word of what was going on for them.
Oh, really?
So that she was very beloved. And our high school stopped at the 10th grade. And so they encouraged her to go on to the University of Wyoming Preparatory School, and she got in the School of Music. You can find her rather easily
Right,
there.
right.
When she graduated with that, those women said, you must keep going. You must use your skill, your talent, your brain. And so they encouraged her to go to Howard University in Washington, D.C., where Kamala Harris graduated. Helped her get the forms, whatever. They said they put her on the train down at the depot with a lunch and a pie, and off she went to Howard, graduated Howard. That wasn't enough, so she went on to Juilliard, graduated Juilliard. That wasn't enough, so she graduated Columbia.
Wow.
And as I think even now how hard that would be to do all that.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, and as an African American, I love her.
Well, and the thing that's such an interesting twist about it is that she was writing letters for the
them
rich
ladies.
when at that point in time the blacks weren't even supposed to be literate,
yeah.
you know, reading or writing,
Right.
because they felt that was a threat. And here she's the main writer for.
So here she's an honored alum at UW.
Wow.
And let's turn around
How
before
cool
those
is
folks
that
come.
story?
And we're going to look at these pictures.
Okay.
When the Ivinsons began to have money, they bought the whole block and had grass planted and trees planted and allowed the Laramie people to use it as a park. But when they wanted to build, you don't see sagebrush or red dirt or prairie grass out there. $25,000 to build the house we are in, $15,000 to build the carriage house where you bought your tickets. You can see some people out there in aprons, and it would have taken 6 to 8 serving people to run a house this big.
Right.
Now, we know they had a butler. He lived up there in that apartment, and that little gal that was just in here may still be living in that apartment. And then I'm going to show you a maid's bedroom upstairs. So we know those two lived here. But we think the rest of those came in, cooked, cleaned, sewed, whatever, and went home. They were day workers, we believe, because there's not really places to stay. Winter picture, you see a gangplank crossing a ditch. So snow, ice, water, I don't know what else would have gone down that ditch, I don't want to know. And the street out here in front is still,
Wow.
still dirt. So from here
Those are neat pictures.
we're going to go up the stairs, and let's go out here and meet our folks. I better go see if they're at the door. Let's wait right there.
Okay. We've got some new people that decided to join the tour with us. And so we've got 4 ladies here that are going to be also going along with us. I'm sure that there will probably be some questions asked. So if you hear other voices, hopefully it comes through on our microphones well enough. And we're going to continue on with our tour here with Sylvia and have more fun with more people.
And my name is Sylvia. I'm a retired junior high teacher. Tell me where you're from.
Spring, Texas. Houston area, Spring,
Okay.
Texas.
Is it spring break or
It
what?
is. For us, it's spring break.
Spring
right.
break in Spring, Texas. Sounds like a lot of spring. And it ain't even spring yet.
Not technically. No.
Not in Laramie either. Tell me what grade? Third?
Fifth.
All right. Well, I love the junior high. They were such great kids. I loved it. From here, we're going up the stairs, and I'm going to tell you how we're going to do this. Do I sound like a teacher? We're going to hold on to the banister. We have 3rd graders go through here every spring because they study Laramie history. And I said, hold on to the banister. 3rd grade hand went up and said, what's a banister? Hold the railing. Stay to your right because the stairs get narrow right there, and I don't want us all sliding back on whoever is in the back. So we'll go up the stairs. Here we go. Oh, and as we go up, this is maybe for you, but for them too. If you look on the stairs, there's a brass rod. And we found the brass rods down in that room where we found the tile.
Oh, really?
And people thought, where do they go? And you can see.
I could have told you.
You could have. The black stuff that was there during the girls' school time, keep that in your mind. It'll make sense later. And so the Laramie Women's Club, it cost a small fortune to get the runner to go up and keep the pattern going, but that's where all the rods went. So all those brass rods are back where they go. They're all original. So
They go to the very back of the stair to hold the carpet tight.
yes.
I'm a flooring installer.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
the reason I could have told you what those
Yeah,
were
well, they
for.
figured that out when they counted them and counted the stairs. So.
Okay. So 2 + 2 = 4.
Yeah.
Dang, this handrail had to have been tough to put together too.
Yeah.
Just because there's so many angled cuts coming around this corner.
Yes.
Now, did this all have to be replaced after the vandalism years?
No, that's still all original.
That's still all original.
Yeah.
That's amazing. This is a bedroom.
A bedroom, one of them. The home belonged to Edward and Jane Ivinson, and so you'll hear me use their names a lot, and just keep it somewhere. This room, well, this is the Ivinson suite, and we don't know if they both slept in one room and had the other room for a sitting room, but often in Victorian times they slept separately. So we've put this as if it's Edward's room. It's a little more masculine, and the next room we come to is more like Jane's. A couple of things to look at in here. Number one, right in the middle is one of our pieces of prison furniture. Keep that in your mind. John Ute came to Laramie to build beautiful furniture. He got put in prison and built 23 pieces, and this is a really lovely piece of prison furniture. Don't touch.
Again, the carvings in this is just phenomenal.
It is. And this is where you'll see some of the mythological kinds of things on this one.
Oh,
There's a lot of
yeah.
them.
The carving, wow. Everywhere you look. I mean, it's not just the top, it's the sides, it's the pieces coming down, the legs, bar in between. It's all carved.
And let's turn around and look for a moment at this literal footstool. When the third graders come, when they go back to their school, the teacher says, write or draw about your favorite thing in the whole mansion. And this is often what the third graders like the most. And those are elk legs, but I make the third graders guess. And last year, it was maybe the longest tour of my life. One of the boys said, well, I think that they are antelope. Well, antelope have pretty small legs. I said, well, let's guess again. And the boy next to him said, well, I think they're goat. I thought, oh, brother. I said, well, let's guess again. And a little girl in the group said, my dad's a hunter and those are elk. And I thought, thank you. So there's a literal footstool with elk legs on it. The furniture that is in here belonged to Melville Brown and his wife. Melville Brown was our first mayor for 6 weeks. At the end of 6 weeks, he said, Laramie is too wild. The government is corrupt. It was very vigilante. So he only was a mayor for a short time. He resigned, but they continued to live in Laramie. And when they died, their family gave us their furniture. And the story is, for a while, he was a judge in Alaska. And they brought the furniture back with him from Alaska, and they said they got it from Russia. And if you look, it's kind of got that dome look, that onion look that you see in a lot of the things in Russia. So very beautiful furniture.
It is very, very beautiful.
The wood in this room, hold this in your mind, ladies, is Spanish mahogany.
Okay.
There's some things that'll make sense, but you gotta wait.
And now we're coming into another bedroom. And this one's really a nice room. You've got a beautiful armoire over there.
Yeah.
You've got a record player that has the old big metal discs.
Metal discs.
You've got several different types of old record players, which is quite interesting.
Perhaps this was Jane's room. They said she liked sun and light, and particularly in the morning, it's very bright up here. And the pine tree wouldn't have been grown up there, so it would have been brighter than it is now. The furniture in Jane's room belonged to Martha Wallace. Martha Wallace was an early school teacher in Laramie. They called her Maddie Wallace, and when she died, her family had a ranch, the Wallace Ranch, and when she died, they gave us her very beautiful furniture. But what they gave us that I really treasure is they gave us her diploma. University of Wyoming, she got a Bachelor of Pedagogy, and that means she was a teacher. And then at the bottom, and you can't see it because it's out at an angle and it slid down in there a little bit, it was 1909 from the University of Wyoming. And when I look at it, On one side, the faculty signed it, and on the other side, all the trustees signed it. My diploma, one name of whoever was president back when I graduated. You know, nothing as wonderful as that. That's such a treasure to me. So,
Do teachers know that they're called pedagogies?
pedagogy, yeah. Oh, I don't know that they do.
I've never heard of a teacher called that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Education, pedagogy, yeah.
Huh,
It's an
okay.
old-fashioned term.
Imagine that.
Yeah. This fireplace in here, looking at it, remembering that Jane got her tile from Italy, and this mantle is all original. Nothing was taken, broken, gone from that. That is all original.
Wow.
And as we look at this room for a moment, over here, let me see if I can find it. Well, you kind of have to look around. This trunk belonged to Mrs. E.I., Mrs. Edward Ivinson. It's her steamer trunk. So it would have been on ships, trains. She traveled to Europe. She traveled to Egypt. She traveled around the United States. So that's Jane's trunk. That is not her clothing. We don't have much of her clothing, but this has been donated.
The wallpaper up here is just phenomenal, too.
It is. And like I said, we had to do it room by room. One room would get done and raise money and put up some more. Look at that bathtub. You could swim in there. At least float around. This is the Ivinson's bathroom. The tile on the floor is like the tile in the entryway. Each piece was cut and put down so tightly. It is original. That basket weave is original. The tub, this wonderful tub with its marble legs is original. Marble sink is original. In 1892, Jane traveled to Chicago and found the shower. She had to have it. Shower head, and if you have good eyes, there's holes in the pipe. So she would have just got inundated with water.
That's cool.
Now this shower is a round shower with a screen that goes all the way around, but it has a shower head up on top, two shower heads that come in about waist high, and then like she said, perforations around rails that are set at about 18 inches apart,
Yeah.
to where you would get pretty much immersed in water.
The letter that came with it said it would cost $300 and $40 to ship it to Laramie, Wyoming. It would have marble sides and back. And you can see the marble. It still has the marble bottom. It's still here. And you can see straight edges. So it would have had marble sides and back, and it would have gone up high enough that it wouldn't have ruined the wallpaper.
Wow.
But in the vandalism, someone took the marble sides and back. It's on someone's fireplace in Laramie or on their floor. This would have been in front.
Okay.
But it's a wonderful shower. And the window behind me is stained glass, and we figure it had to be stained glass because there's no holes, there's nothing poked up there for any kind of a curtain, any kind of thing like that. And if you were stepping into your shower and here are all your neighbors, you wouldn't want a clear window. So our lady who did the ones downstairs said, I'll look at your wallpaper and I'll make one to go with it. But it would have been stained. But in the vandalism years, that was from 1958 to 1968. Keep that in your mind.
And now what is this bathtub made out of? It looks like an old crock. You know, the old 25-gallon crocks or whatever. It looks like it's the same kind of material.
Isn't it the same stuff as the sink downstairs?
Cast iron?
Cast iron.
It is cast iron when I thump on it.
Yeah.
It looks like Hot Springs, Arkansas has tubs like this in some of the older hotels where you can
Really?
take your baths.
I
Okay.
couldn't get out.
And that's deep.
They're
That's
very
one that
deep,
you could
yeah.
actually take a bath in.
They're very deep.
Fill up bubble bath.
Or Al Capone in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Exactly, yes. And you do feel like that when you walk into some of those older hotels. You come down the stairs any minute.
We did do a podcast at the Gangster Museum there.
Cool.
This is a guest bedroom, or?
No. Looking at the floor, it's like the kitchen. This is the working part of the house. This is the maid's bedroom. And yet I suggest she was loved and respected because her room is near the mistress. Oftentimes, in Victorian times, the maid or those extra servants would be upstairs or downstairs. But she's right here, nice windows, a nice closet, a nice size room. We have 3 ladies, and I don't know the order they were here in, but this lady, and that lady were all maids here at different times. And let's say Sarah was their first maid. If she got married and moved on, then maybe Bertha was the second one, and I don't know the order. But these 3 ladies lived here, not at the same time. They wouldn't have been maids here at the same time, but separately, these 3 lived here. And then on this wall, we have some silhouettes. And these people have said on the 1910 census that they worked at this house. And so we have a cook, a hostler is someone that takes care of horses, so they would have had a carriage and horses at some point, a gardener, a servant, a housekeeper, and another servant. So we don't think they lived here. We think they worked here and went home.
Okay.
Because we know that the butler lived where you bought your ticket and the maid lived here, so. Oh, and let's step back over in front of that big closet and look down in there. You're going to have to kind of jostle around after you look. There's a blue trunk. It might be the oldest trunk in our collection. It came from Sweden. The date on it is 1787. And a rancher had it, and he said, well, we just throw saddles and ropes on it, and it's just getting dirty. And so he said, you clean it up. We didn't change any of the painting. We didn't do anything. We just cleaned it up. And that kind of painting in Sweden is called rosemary painting.
And it must be durable if it stood up to being in a tack shed.
Yeah. So,
wow.
All right. Another reason I said the maid was so well loved and respected, this is the maid's bathroom. However, if you were visiting, you would have shared this bathroom. You would not have shared the Ivinson's bathroom. The door there goes out to a maid's balcony, and if you walk around and look up, it's still there, a platform with a railing around it, and maybe she aired out clothing that smelled like mothballs. Third graders don't know what mothballs are. Or maybe bedding, and would bring it in for the Ivinsons. Maybe she used to open that door to get air in here. Look up high, there's the wainscoting that goes up high, indicating a pull chain toilet. The tub is original with its cherry wood trim. It is original, so.
And these are interesting scales.
Oh, wouldn't you have to have good balance?
Yes.
I'd
The
fall
scale's just got a top on it that's maybe 12 inches wide and 8 inches, well, 12 inches, yeah, and 8 inches deep. And it sits up off the floor about a foot.
Yeah.
So you'd have to step up onto the scale. But it does go to 300 pounds. So I guess it'd take care of most of us.
And the painting in here again it would have been natural, but during
Right.
the girls' school time, got painted. For you guys, girls' school time was 1921 to 1958. So just keep those thoughts in your mind. And one of the displays that's not out here yet, and I've got to get on that curator to get it out. We usually have a tea set here. And the tea set says Jean on every single piece. Every cup, every saucer says Jean, 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 Jean. Jean was the oldest Ivinson granddaughter. And the Ivinsons brought her that tea set back from Europe, probably hand-painted in Paris. When our curator got it, she put it out. And all the place settings she discovered there were 20 place settings. So Jean could have a tea party with 20 of her friends.
Wow.
And so in looking at it, they decided that was how little girls of wealth learned to be women of wealth. You pass this first, you use this fork, you pass this, it goes this direction, and that's how they learn the etiquette of how you go out to these wonderful places. And I wish she'd get that back up, because I love Jean's tea set. There were two other sisters. There was Mary Elizabeth, they called her Libas, and there was Frances, and they called her Fanny. And we believe that Fanny and Libas have their own tea sets, but they've kept them. But Jean's family gave us back a treasure. Behind me, and you're welcome to step in and look, is the trunk closet. So when you were here, your trunk or suitcases would have been in there. The big trunk under the window is Maggie Ivinson's, and Maggie Ivinson was the daughter of Jean and Edward. So there's some old vacuums. You can step in there. And then we're going up some more stairs. Hold the banister / railing. There's a red board that's hanging down. You tall people, watch out for the red board. And we're going up another flight.
Are these family Bibles or just Bibles that have been donated by the community?
Probably donated. There's one Ivinson Bible, and I don't know if this is it. Let me look if I can see. These are probably all donated. The big one might be the family one. And interestingly, in the family one, there's all these births and dates, very beautifully written. And then it stopped after Edward, and we decided that it was all his handwriting, that he kept the family Bible. But I don't know that that's it. But it's kind of a big one, and we've sometimes had it out open to a page. But
This staircase is quite a bit narrower.
yes, stay with me here, but we will go all the way around. When I grew up in Laramie, they said this was the ballroom, but the stairs are too steep and too narrow for the lovely dresses. This was not a ballroom. Edward ran for governor in 1892. Perhaps he was going to govern from up here with his aides in the corner offices. Interestingly, in the most Republican state in the United States, he was beat by a Democrat from Rawlins, and he didn't run again. But perhaps he wanted to govern from up here. Maybe the little girls played up here because the basement is dark and icky. We're just not sure. It was a storage area. What you maybe didn't notice, so I'm going to say this out loud, I'm going to tell you, their bedrooms did not have closets. They had armoires, but no closets. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this, so we're going to do it kind of quietly, but come here. You talk about a walk-in closet.
Holy smokes.
You're welcome to step in there. That thing's in the way, but you're welcome to look or step in. It's all right. I don't care.
We're looking at a closet that is 15 foot long and probably 8 or 9 foot wide with clothes, full of clothes. And then there's even closets off to the sides of it.
This doorway goes over and back, so it's also got more closet.
It's a huge walk-in closet.
The
It's
one
amazing.
this way is just cabinets, so maybe it was gloves or we aren't sure what was in the cabinets over there.
It is a big
It is a big closet. And if you look across the room, there's a white door, and that's a big closet. It goes all the way back, sideways and back. So maybe his clothes, her clothes, summer clothes, winter clothes. We believe the maid or butler came up and got the clothing they wanted for the day.
Wow. This is such an interesting area with what you've done up here for not knowing what
What it was.
You've turned it into, how do I want to describe this? It's a Western cowboy themed, not just themed, but artifact area.
And we had another sign up here and it's gone, so I'm going to tell you what it said. This whole wall behind me was our Indian artifacts, our Native American artifacts. We had arrowheads, we had beaded sashes, beaded moccasins, long bows, short bows. We had all this stuff. And in January of 2024, it was said, we've always known you couldn't mess with Indian graves. They were sacred. We knew that. But in 2024, it came out, and I need that sign, but I think it's repatriation. And you can't show any Indian artifacts unless you have permission from the tribes. So our curator has been working really hard, but until she gets permission, all of our Indian stuff is stored away.
Wow.
Is it from multiple tribes or one predominant tribe in Wyoming?
Well, and we had tribes that just passed through. In Wyoming, we have one Indian reservation. It's the Wind River Reservation up there, and the government, in their cleverness, put Northern Arapaho and Eastern Shoshone together, and they were enemies. And they still don't always get along. So she's gone to them. Arrowheads are from all over and can go way, way back. And so she's working very hard, tribal councils, trying to get permission. And if they want it back, they can have it back, certainly. But we're hoping they're going to say, show our culture, show how proud we are. But so far, she's just not getting anywhere.
Well,
so.
the other part of the whole thing is Fort Laramie, which is not in Laramie itself.
No, it's in Goshen County.
Right, but it's not far from here. But it was the gathering place for most of the Indian treaties that took place in the West. So you would have had Indian tribes from Nebraska, South Dakota, Oklahoma.
They were Plains Indians.
All the Plains Indians would have been here at different times. So trying to figure out who left what behind might be really, really difficult.
And we've had some baskets and pottery probably from the southwest down there. So she's working on it. But now it's our cowboy wall because it used to be our Indian wall. So let's start over here. We have a funny chair here, and we decided that came from the Episcopal Church. They owned this for quite a few years, and it was a girls' boarding house. This has been here since I've been here. I don't know how you can get it down. I think they somehow got it up here. It's a bishop's chair, and only a bishop may sit in it. So if a bishop's not in church, no one sits in it. And a bishop carries a staff, and so there's a place for his staff to go down in there. It'll probably be here until forever. You come back in 50 years, it's probably still going to be there. But in the middle, we have a lot of old saddles. We have two side saddles. This one is a side saddle. That far corner is a side saddle. We used to have a lovely dress out of there. And it looked lovely, but you could pull the skirt apart and it became culottes. So she could wrap a leg and not fall off the saddle. And turning around looking at our map, our new curator did a lot of research and found very old ranches and where they were in Albany County. This is our county. There's Laramie. This is our county. It's very confusing because we are Laramie in Albany County. Cheyenne is in Laramie County. Fort Laramie is in Goshen County. If you go into Colorado, the first county you come to is Laramie County. Much confusion reigns. People don't want to spend a lot of time looking at this, but if they live here, we've had a couple ranchers come up and they just want to stay here. But we're just going to keep going. So. We're going to stop at this funny red door. There's a big ranch between Laramie and Fort Collins. It's on a dirt road. It's called the Wooden Shoe Ranch. Very, very old, very big. Most recently, you got that picture? I don't want to be in your picture. Most recently, it belonged to Jim and Sylvia Ware. Big ranch. Jim died, and Sylvia couldn't manage it, run it herself, so she sold it. But this door, if you look in this picture, I don't know if it's a bunkhouse or a tool shed. There's that door. That's the actual door. When she sold it, she took it down and drug it to Laramie. So now we have it here. And there's that same shed with the door up there. But she told us why it was important, and then it made sense to us. She said when Jim was still alive, if they had cowboys or ranchers come help them hay, or maybe they put those things in the calves' ears when they're born. Now they don't brand them, they put them in the ear. If they came, they signed her door. And she said there's some ranchers that have a brand, and she said some of them were just cowboys and they didn't have, so they just put some initials. And so that was important because those people came and helped them. So she brought this to Laramie from many miles out. So that's a crazy story.
Now, what is this metal box behind you?
Oh,
There's carbon bricks, so it's a heater of some sort.
It's called a lamb's heater, and if a shepherd or a rancher finds a baby lamb and the mom's abandon it or not feeding it, they can put it in here, and then there's a place for a warm brick, so it would keep the baby lamb warm, and it would keep the baby lamb safe from like eagles or coyotes or whatever. And then at the end of the day, when that shepherd goes back to his trailer or the ranch, they can pick it up and take it in, and the baby lamb is safe.
Okay.
So the baby lamb.
I've never seen one of those little lamb shelters like that.
Oh, that's not going to turn. Yeah, he'd be in there, and he could look out, and he'd be safe, but then he'd be warm.
That is interesting.
And
little lambing shed.
Let's look over here for a minute. The third graders love this. It's a strange thing. It's a chair made out of elk antlers. And you would need a horsehair hide throw or a rug or a cushion to sit in it because those antlers would not be very comfortable. And let's come on in here. This room is commemorating that girls' school time, and that was 1921 to 1958. And as I told the other people, this was not a girls' school. This was where girls from ranches came and lived to go to high school at Laramie. And so it was a long period, and we needed to remember that time. And if you look at this picture, that's the room we were just in, and it shows beds and dressers all the way up and down. And before COVID, one of the ladies who lived here came through and gave me the tour that day, and she said, 9th and 10th graders, are you a grade?
I'm 7th.
You're what?
7th.
Oh my gosh, well then you would have been here. Well, no, you wouldn't. 9th and 10th graders were in the dorm. This was the 11th grade room. And I said, how many of you were in here? Because it's small. And she said, we had a couple of bunk beds. Wow. And then when we get to the other corner, it's a bigger room. And that was the 12th grade room. And I had so many third graders, I got pushed clear over here. And one of the third grade boys said, what is that wooden thing? And I turned to tell him it was a radio. And the boy next to him said, that's an early karaoke machine.
Oh, no.
I said, if you sing along to the radio, that's exactly what that is. Yeah. I love those third grade tours. They're so much fun. And you're looking at this, she's looking at a picture of how many girls might have been here at one time. And it looks like the 1940s with their hairstyle and the way they're dressed. But they would have been there or here or in the next room down. So.
got a nice barbed wire display
Yeah. Yeah.
of all the different barbed wires. They used to mark their territories
Yeah,
that way.
they did. And I guess it's quite the thing to collect it in all the different kinds, so.
They're really interesting to look at because
Oh, I think they're scary.
yeah, some of them are terrifying.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you've got some old range cookware and
That would have been on a chuck wagon.
On a
That was
chuck
the
wagon.
cook's, the back of his chuck wagon, so he could cut and pound and do whatever he did. We have some chaps that the cowboys would have worn. These are called woolies, and they're out of Angora, and these are out of cowhide. But they protect the cowboys from the sagebrush or keep their legs warm. And then this is all our cowboy wall, all along here. Used to be our Indian wall, our Native American wall.
got a carriage foot heater over here.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. Yeah, you just like your lamb heater over there, you'd put your brick or your charcoal in there and then close it up and you put it at your feet and put your robe over the top and it would radiate the heat underneath your blanket.
Thank you. Let's stop and look just for a minute at the size of these buffalo, these bison skulls. When you hear about people getting thrown around because they come up too close to them in Yellowstone Park, those are big animals. Powerful head, powerful horns or whatever they're called.
That's a lot of horns.
That's a Nikki picture. I wish I wouldn't put that one out there. Oh,
Yeah, it's history.
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
I know.
Got a couple of big wheeled bicycles in here. Is that another piece of prison furniture?
Yes, it is. Two
There you
pieces.
go. I'm beginning to see it.
Yeah, you do. Your eyes begin to find it. This is the 12th grade room. So the 12th grade room is nicer and bigger, a little more seniority here. And it's our transportation room, and your eyes have found two pieces of prison furniture. You four ladies keep that in your mind. It'll make sense. Here we have two tall bikes, and this man, Thomas Stevens, rode this tall bike all the way across the United States, and you wonder why.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and the third graders always say, well, how would you get on? Well, there's a peg, and there's a peg, so you could get your foot up there, get it going, and get up into the seat. This seat rotted away, but it would have looked like that one. And this hard rubber tire is gone from here. I don't know how you stop it. I don't know how you get off, if you just jump off.
Do you want me to tell you a story?
Sure, why not?
I had the opportunity to ride one. And we're talking about one of these ones with the big wheels in the front, the little wheels in the back.
Yeah.
And getting on it was kind of a challenge. Like you said, you've got a little foot peg here just above the back wheel,
Right.
and the big wheel in front. And you're riding along, and then you go, how in the world am I going to get off of this?
Yeah.
Because you've got to stop and tip it over or something, but you're sitting up 6 foot high.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I did go over the handlebars and on my back, and the bike fell over on its side, and the guy that owned the bike says that's not the way you do it. So I can tell you how not to do it.
Don't do that. Well, and somebody said push back, but I think if you're going fast, they're going to flip you over, like you just said.
I was really in a quandary as to how I was supposed to get off of the thing, but
We're going to look over here, but for a moment we have some interesting things. These are snowshoes for horses. So the hoof would go down in there, and then these come up around the horse's leg, tied with another rope or maybe a leather thong. The rancher that gave us these said he only had 2 left, but they were rotting away, and he said, if I don't give them to you, my family's going to throw them away because they're rotting away. But he gave us a picture, and 4 would be a complete set. So there's 4 on that horse and 4 on the next horse, and it would keep the horses from sinking in our deep snow.
and these things are about, I'd say 16 inches round with a 3/4 inch burlap type rope, maybe a hemp rope, and it's all woven in around 2 metal bands, and then there's pieces that come on up and go around the hoof to be able to lash onto the hoof of the horse.
Yeah, hook on.
I've not seen that style of
I had never seen it until I came
snowshoes
here. That was
before.
20 years ago, so.
Wow.
All right, we'll move on if you don't have other questions.
You've got a Union Pacific Railroad map along with a Union Pacific uniform and some steamer trunks. And What year did the Union Pacific come into Laramie?
1868 was the first passenger train.
Okay, right. 1868 was the first passenger train.
This corner used to be our cowboy corner, and we had this as a line cabin or a line shack. And on big ranches, if the cowboys went all day to brand or build fences, they slept out in the middle of a prairie or out somewhere, and coyotes and wolves and snow got them. So they built a line shack, and where that wreath is over there, there's a thing where we had a pot-bellied stove. And our curator put a cowboy mannequin down there so our third graders could and our guests could understand where the cowboy could sleep and he could cook on his little stove. When we had to move our Indian stuff out, all the cowboy stuff went there, and so now this is a one-room schoolhouse.
They could do school there?
They had, we used to have a cabin out here that was a one-room schoolhouse, and they've taken it down, numbered it all, taken it down. They'll put it back up when we finish our addition over there, but bigger than this, but a one-room schoolhouse with all different sized desks and
kids.
Yes.
And by the way, the rack we saw in the closet in this rack had Indian rugs on it. Very beautiful Indian rugs, and they're all put away. I don't think they know what to do with these, so they just keep hanging around. This room used to be the girls' bathroom, the shower. They'd come from the dorm, come from the bedrooms, and come in here and get clean and get cute. They are in the middle. They're in the middle of putting stuff together. So I can tell you about a few things. This saddle is a pack saddle. You wouldn't ride it, but you'd put your whatever you were taking.
Panniers.
Yeah. And, I don't want to mess up. Over here we have a rusted Colt revolver. It was found out in our Laramie River that runs by Laramie. Was the cowboy shot and he lost it? Did it fall out of his holster and he couldn't find it? They didn't throw guns away like they do now for fingerprints, so it was very precious to him. We don't know the story about it, but we have a very old Colt.
Now, there is a dug-up gun museum in Cody, Wyoming, not far from the Irma Motel.
Okay.
He's got over 1,300 dug-up guns in this museum, displayed very nicely. But he says that it was quite common that people lost guns because they would be doing something and set their gun down, or they would be cleaning an animal, or they would be trapping and end up losing track of where it was.
Okay.
Which is really odd to me, because it seems to me like that would have been your most important tool to have had.
Yeah.
And yet he said that it was kind of common for people to accidentally lose those things.
The funny chair in the corner is a barber chair from Fort Sanders, and this is an interesting piece of something or other. This is called a Sibley stove, S-I-B-L-E-Y, Sibley stove. They were used in the Civil War down south, and this says it was used in tents, but I've also heard that it was used on a mountain ridge so that the enemy couldn't see your fire to cook or to keep warm. They wouldn't see any flame. For whatever reason, we don't know how it happened, but we found two of these. Two of these were found 16 miles outside of Laramie. How did they get from the south? Was it cavalrymen? Did somebody have them on their wagon train?
Actually, there was a Sibley had a battle up in the Bighorn Mountains. There's Sibley Park and some other Sibley places up there where there was an Indian war up there, and so it may have been a civil war, but it came across with some of the Civil
that
War
makes sense then.
Veterans that were coming through with the Indian Wars.
That makes sense. So, all right, we need to move on. I don't have much to. I'll be glad when they get this room done, or when I understand what's in here. From here, we're going back down the stairs. Hold the railing. Tall people, watch out for that red board. And here we go. Let's stop and face these closets. But a moment.
She's working her way down.
Okay, I understand that. I had to one-step it. You see two closets here, and you're going to say, well, Sylvia, you said there weren't any closets. Did you lie? No, I did not. You saw the real closets. These are only this big, and that one has shelves all the way up and around, and then on this end is a built-in dresser, so maybe her hats and gloves and scarves, maybe shoes. We don't think he had that many hats and shoes, so maybe her hats or shoes, or maybe one was a linen closet, but they're only as big as you see, and there's no way to hang anything like you saw upstairs. So, and this hallway is in the middle. You can see where we had a lot of pictures, and they've all been moved. So,
And we got another, is that for those round cylinders?
I believe it is. I have never opened
Okay.
that one. It's always just up there. And another one over there for cylinders.
And that's got the cylinders too, yes. What a nice roll-top desk.
I know, isn't
Holy
that wonderful?
smokes.
This looks like where my kids were.
Yeah.
And a baby high chair that looks like it's adjustable and wheelable to
And
wherever
you
you
can take
want.
it
It's got
apart and it'll
wheels
become
on
a
it.
youth chair. The top comes
Oh, is that
up,
the
so
way
it's no
that-
longer a high chair, but then you can see it becomes a youth chair. This room was the guest bedroom. So if you were visiting, you'd be in the guest bedroom. The wood in the guest bedroom is ash. The only piece of furniture that belonged to the Ivinsons was this table, but it wasn't here. It was in Edward Ivinson's bank. It was in his boardroom, and I'm going to show you. In front of each of the chairs, there's a drawer. So each of the board members could have had a writing utensil, a tablet, minutes, whatever. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One's over there, 8. We have 9 of these chairs. These are prison pieces. So the 9 quickly add up in our count of 19.
I still can't believe that guy did that in 2 years and 8 months.
Over here we have a funny piece of furniture. If you were in a small room, like a hotel room, during the day you could write on this like a desk, and at night it pulls out to a bed. It's a desk bed.
Oh, that's cool.
And they opened it up and took the picture, and then they've closed it back up, and they will never open it again. The bottom phrase there said it now remains in the closed position because they spring apart, and people can't get them back together, so they throw them away. So there's very few desk beds left, but we have one of them. So
That is cool.
that is cool.
Is this supposed to be bent like this?
No, I think it broke. I think it would have
So it
been.
would have been straight?
Yeah, I believe it would have been. It's been like that my 20 years, but I believe it had to be more. Oh, let's stop here and look a minute. I can do this, and I don't usually, but let's look in here.
Another closet.
More clothes, yeah, another big closet. If you look through all this stuff, there's lath and plaster, and we had to replace the sheetrock over there, but the man who did that thing, did all the work, said, let's leave that so people can see what the old walls look like, the lath and the,
That's a good idea.
yeah, so I don't usually do that, but I just thought maybe we ought to do
That's
that.
really interesting, though, to be able to see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he said. He said, let's show that, because that's not going to be able to see. Okay, go to your right.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. My favorite things.
Good.
I love hair wreaths.
Oh, and I try hard not to talk about them. But this
Really?
room,
I talk about them every chance I get.
we'll talk about them in a moment. But this room looks like another lovely bedroom. This was Jane Ivinson's sewing room, and there's a mother of pearl inlaid Singer sewing machine in the corner. So Jane or her seamstress would come up here and sew. And this gentleman is talking about the hair wreaths over there. The one on the left, I really try hard not to talk about it. And there's always some third grade girl that says, "Where's the hair wreath?" And then the boys are all grossed out. The one on the left that shows that woman, when she died, they put her picture in there, cut her hair and made all those flowers and stems out of her hair. And that's a little grim. The other one is a new one to our collection, and obviously it's a hair wreath, but we think that it came from different members of the family because we have blonde and red hair, and so we think people, if they had long hair and they cut it, they sent it to Aunt Bertha or whoever knew how to make that. And so it's a kind of sort of hair wreath in the...
Can I add a little bit to your story?
Sure.
Just for your information.
Sure, please do.
And everybody that's listened to my podcast knows that I love these things. There's a museum in Independence, Missouri.
Okay.
That is a hair museum. When I went there, I thought, if it's more than $3, I'm not going in. I walked in and there was like 20 of these in the lobby, and it was $15 to go to the back room, and the $15 came out of my pocket very fast. She had probably 2,000, 3,000 hair-made items. They used to make bracelets,
brooches.
They made watch bands, headbands, hatbands, all kinds of different things out of hair. And the reason that they would do it is they did not have photography. So if your husband was going to go on a ship for 2 years, a whaling ship, you would make him some sort of a hair whatever, and he could carry a piece of you with him. Okay, so that was part of it. The other part is a genealogy and a history, family history. So like you were saying, you thought this one had several different people. Some of these have pictures of people or histories as to whose hair is where. And so you could have maybe 4 or 5 generations in the family with all of their different hairs in there. And that way there you kept their memory and their... So we look at it nowadays as being kind of a grim thing. Whereas for them, it was a memory, very beneficial family history.
That's correct. And I've been told that people have little ones like that. Smaller ones. But
I would love to find one in an antique store someplace, and it will come home with me at some point in time. But I haven't been that lucky. These pieces they're around, but usually only 1 or 2. And you'll see them in this museum or that museum, but they're not real common. And the intricacy is a thing that amazes me.
Looking over here, but a moment, there's 2 dolls. And they are dressed in what the Ivinsons wore at their 50th anniversary. They were upstairs in that room. You got to look in the closet. Her dress has to keep flat because the tatting, the lace, is falling apart. And so they keep it flat. And I've been here 20 years and only seen it out 3 times flat. His Brooks Brothers tuxedo is up there, and sometimes it's in his room and it's in good shape. But that's what they wore to their big 50th anniversary, replicas of what they wore.
Where was their 50th anniversary?
It was here in Laramie. They had it down at Manicore Hall, big Manicore dance hall downtown. And one of our doll makers said, let me look at particularly the dress before it is just all falling apart and before you can't make sense of it. So she made those a good number of years before it began to fall apart so much. And in this room, and I don't think you can see it, I don't know how to, this is a fainting bed, and not that Jane would faint, but she might lay down and read or relax here. But behind it, I don't know how to find it. If you look over the bed, there's wood coming out at an angle. There was a fireplace there. And the tile was gone, the mantle was gone, there was just a hole. We had to sheetrock it. I told him that bed's not in the right place. But anyway, we don't know what happened. Remember, hers, different parts were gone, his stuff was gone, and so this one was completely gone. And we couldn't find tile, we couldn't find anything, no pictures. So it's gone from the sewing room. So the wood in the sewing room is from the birch tree. It's from the big part of the birch tree, like the big stump or the big branches, so it looks warty. It's called curly birch.
That's a beautiful door.
It is a beautiful door. All right, we're out to here. I can't read that. Can anyone read that? I can't read it. I need my glasses.
Those were salesman models. And the salesman would go around and sell the stoves. And they would have several of those so that the ladies could pick out what they wanted with their stove and then order it, and then it would be shipped to them.
This is the last room in your tour, except for the 4 ladies from Texas. And this might have been a gathering place. If they slept in separate rooms, often Edward and Jane would gather and talk about their day. Sometimes we have a table set up here with chairs so that the ladies might come up here for dessert while the men went in the smoking room. It's just kind of a gathering area. Not sure exactly what it was. Again, we have another piano, but this is one of the things.
With a brass player. How cool is that?
Are those stained glass windows also original or not?
No, none of them are, but they got the pattern from that one.
Okay.
This is a music box from Germany. It came from a family who had lived in England for a while. It will play 6 or 8 continuous songs, and sometimes when I'm up here, that gear thing will go chunk, and it moves it over so that then that's hitting different notes as it goes around. I found out that a Laramie person donated it, and the people that came from England, she married into the Prawl family, and the Prawl's a really old family in Laramie, and she recently donated this. So I think our first druggist, our first pharmacist was Mr. Prawl, so.
That's so cool.
Isn't that beautiful?
Isn't it amazing the work that they could do back then? I mean, watchmakers and all that stuff, and we've lost all of those trades.
We have. One of our men here had to fix this, and he said I could play it a couple times, but to not turn it off, just let it run down, because I will break it if I should.
So does this pretty much finish out our
Yep,
tour?
you're done.
Well,
But I'm gonna
not completely done yet.
Okay, I'm going to have you sign out on the guest book, too.
Okay. I wanted to know, do you guys have a website or a
Yes.
Facebook page?
They have a
or any type
website.
of-
I think they have a website. I don't know about Facebook, because I don't do Facebook.
Do you know the website's address?
I don't, but we can go back and ask them over there, because your wife has to do some shopping.
Okay, well, yes, she does. I
you'll-
want to thank you very much for taking your time today, Sylvia. This has been
You were
fantastic.
good interaction. You gave me a lot of information.
Your information has been great. This place is just absolutely phenomenal. I
It
had
is
no
phenomenal.
idea that this was
To
here.
look at it, you don't know how wonderful it is until you come in.
You have no idea. And I always like to finish out my podcast by saying the world is full of wonder. People need to get out and explore. And this place is a place that I think you could probably explore for 20 years and still be learning and still see more every time you go through it.
Well, and I come over because we just opened back up in March. We were closed from Christmas for deep cleaning. And I came over and I thought, oh, I don't know where this is. Well, I don't know about this room. I got to find these things out before I tell people. So.
Okay. And everybody have an absolutely wonder-filled day.